Hello friends, welcome to this video. Today I felt like doing something a little bit different than usual. And also I personally have been experiencing a lot of art block recently myself. So I figured we should just talk about it. So yeah, art block. I'm not sure if this is the same with other people, but my creativity is very much tied to how I'm feeling in general overall. And so if I'm stressed out and sad, it gets really hard to do art. And then also when I'm not doing art, it makes it easier to be stressed out and sad because I don't have my outlet. And so it's a bit of a vicious cycle for me. So recently I have been doing a lot at my actual job. And I'm not sure how much I've talked about it before, but I am in grad school for neuroscience. So basically, I'm a molecular biologist by day, and I'm getting towards the end of my degree, which is really, really cool. But it also means there's a little bit of crunch time, which is stressful and tiring, but also exciting, but tiring. All this to say, when my job picks up, or when some other aspect of my life gets extra stressful, I get art block. I just come home at the end of the day and I feel like art is another thing I on my plate instead of something that is just relaxing and enjoyable. And that's when I know I need to take a break. So I figured I'd share some tips. Of course, I'm not immune to art block, obviously. That's what I've been saying for the last 2 minutes, but I felt like it might be useful for me to share some of the things that help me get out of art block, slash things I know I should do when I'm feeling art block, but maybe I don't do because I'm that kind of person, aka stubborn. And then when I'm done talking about the tips, I'd really like to talk about the artwork that I actually did because I think I figured out some really cool things, like tricks, and I don't know. I wanted to share my thought process and stuff because I try to do things a little bit differently with this one. Anyway, the tips. So, as I mentioned before, I can tell that art block is about to hit me when I feel like the art that I have planned, for videos, even commissions, or just stuff I want to post, stuff that I've written down, excited to do, feels like a chore. At this point, I know I should take a break. And so tip number 1 is going to be if you feel like the art block is about to come, it's probably a sign that you need to take a break. But usually I don't do that. And so it escalates into getting behind in my projects and then ultimately not making art for a month or something. Whereas I'm sure if I took a break when I first felt like I needed a break, it would have just been a week or something. So yeah, take a break. Tip number 2 might be a slightly unpopular opinion actually, but it's when you are in art block, remind yourself that it's okay not to draw. So for me, right, art block is very much linked to stress. And so if I am in the midst of art block and then I'm stressing about the fact that I'm not drawing, it's gonna make it worse. I've seen so many people say the advice that to improve at art, you should draw every single day. And if you're a person like me who's kind of more of the high-strung type, this can make you get down on yourself when you're not drawing every day. When you're in art block, you can't draw every day. It's easy to dwell on it and be like, oh, well, I'm not drawing every day. I haven't drawn in 4 weeks, and that means I'm not getting better at the rate that I should, and so I'm falling behind where I could be, blah, 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 blah. So my unpopular opinion is you don't need to draw to be getting better, okay? I'll show you what I mean. So this is the first human that I've drawn since October. I have not practiced drawing humans since October, and I have improved in drawing humans since October, at least slightly. It's hard to compare because the picture from October was drawn with a reference and this picture was not drawn with a reference due to laziness, but still, practicing helps. but it doesn't mean you're going to stagnate if you don't draw all the time. So yeah, tip number 2, when you're in the throes of art block, don't worry so much about it, I guess. I know that's like really hard to do, but I hope it's at least a little bit comforting to remind yourself of the fact that, like, you know what, even if I'm not drawing, as long as I'm seeing things with my eyes in the real world, like, I'm getting better. Because as an artist, how you see things and your ability to see things is really important to your work. And you're always seeing, except for when you're asleep. Well, if you dream, that's... Anyway, on to the next tip. So tip number 3 is like kind of twofold. The main idea of tip number 3 is don't put pressure on yourself to draw something. And then like the specifics of it is take a break from posting on social media, or like don't open commissions, or promise people that you're gonna draw something for them. Like when you are in art block, just take it easy on yourself. At least this is what helps me. Everyone's different, but you know, maybe try it and see if that makes you feel a little better. Because again, for me, the art block is always like a stress thing. So just stepping back from like doing things, like making posts or, I don't know, doing stuff, it helps. All right, these next tips are ideas for helping yourself get out of art block. And these are things that have helped me get out of art block this session of it specifically. First, which I guess would be tip 4, but first for this section is look at cool and inspiring stuff. It doesn't even have to be art. It can be art, but it can be like movies, TV. It can be books or music. Just like experience things that are inspiring to you. For me, this was Pinterest mostly, and actually for a lot of this like period of art block, I was looking at things that are inspirational and trying to figure out like, why do I like this art? And I actually made quite a few discoveries about like the things that I want to do with my own art, even though I wasn't making art. So again, like you don't have to make art to be productive in your art journey. For example, I find myself particularly really interested in the interplay of textures in painting. I mean, that's why I've transitioned to a more painterly style. And I've kind of delved into that even more, realizing that it would be even cooler to incorporate like different textures in the painting. So like currently I have like a lot of painterly and rough textures, but it would be even cooler and more impactful to have rough textures and smooth textures juxtaposed. And also detail. I tend to like get really excited about doing the painting for the first several hours, and then I get tired, but I don't give myself enough time to finish it. So I like rush at the end, and I think I really need to start giving myself time to add like intricate detail, because I really like paintings with sections of intricate detail. So yeah, the next tip, which I have now lost count, I knew it would happen eventually. At least I made it this far. The next tip is draw something different than usual. So in my case, I was getting really inspired by like lacy dresses and, you know, flower fields and fairies. And so I drew a fairy reading a book. If you're not sure what to draw, I would say if you're used to drawing creatures, try to draw a human. You can try to do a study, do a silly TikTok art challenge, whatever. If you like really need a suggestion, draw some of my characters. I feel like that's underhanded to say, but like, heck yeah, I love more art of my characters. Okay, anyway. And the final tip for how to get out of art block is when you're drawing your thing for the first time in a while and it's something new, give yourself time, or at least give yourself permission to spend a long time on something. Whenever I go through a period of art block, I end up like having to fall in love with art again at the end of it. I don't know. It's like focusing on the process and realizing like, okay, maybe this is going to take a long time. Maybe it's going to be ugly in the middle, but art is a process. And the whole reason I do it is to enjoy it. Like, those things are what help me get out of the art block. Just returning to that like simple pleasure of like, why do I do art in the first place? Because it's fun, because it's an enjoyable process. And for me, one of the coolest parts of art is that it's challenging. You can learn new things, which is why I always find it fun and helpful to draw something that I'm not used to drawing. And that's also why I chose to try to do a bit of a background, because backgrounds are not my thing. So that was approximately 6 tips on how to get through and get over art block. I hope that was coherent and moderately helpful. And now we're getting to the part where I get to just nerd out about the art things that I learned while I was making this painting. First of all, guys, you can take a picture that you take on your phone and put it behind or on top of your painting and set it to like a soft light or overlay or whatever, and it like adds texture. It's so cool. I feel like for me, as a person whose eyes really enjoy texture and contrasts in texture, digital art can be very like too smooth for my personal taste. And like adding this like textural element in the background over top, I don't know, it just like adds back in the texture that is lost in digital. And also because there are going to be these like tonal variations, it adds complexity to your painting, which in my eyes is an enjoyable piece of a painting. That's actually a trick that Ross uses a lot, I've noticed. And I mean, I like his paintings, so I tried it, and it was cool. I also followed his like recent skin tutorial on YouTube. That tutorial gave me the courage to like try to use the airbrush for skin. And I have to say, for human skin, the airbrush is really good. And then I also follow this other person at 9BrooksKim, I think, on Instagram. And I love the way they like start super airbrushy, and then in the end of their painting, they have like these really smooth. Okay, I can't. The headbanging got me. Anyway, their paintings have areas of super smooth textures, like contrasted with super sharp textures, and that is so good. I need to figure out how to control that, like where to put smooth and where to put sharp. But the fact that I'm like seeing that that's something that I like is progress. Overall, I'm very happy with this one, mostly because I feel like I learned with it, and learning is a big part of why art is so intriguing to me, because my brain really likes to learn new things. And with art, you can always learn new things. All right, I'll stop nerding out now. That's a lie. I'm always gonna nerd out. But in any case, thank you for watching this video. I know I have not been consistent with uploads recently, and yeah, I'm just busy, but I have to say it is really comforting to know that when I do have time, I have like the nicest people that I get to talk about art with. So thank you so much for bearing with me. And I really hope that at least something in this video was helpful, either the art or any of the tips, or just like hearing someone talk about art block, because I know sometimes you can feel very alone if you see all these people posting on Instagram and stuff, and you're like, man, I haven't drawn in like X number of days. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. So yeah, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.